So get this, podcast listeners. Gavin Newsom pays off voters in advance of the recall. If you're being recalled in an election, you're governor of a state, there's no better way to get people to vote for you than to pay them off. And with COVID and all of the COVID stimulus bills, and the fact that California, in addition to the COVID stimulus bills from the federal government, also has a large budget surplus, well, good old Gavin Newsom was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that I give everybody a check. And that way, that check shows up like right before the recall election, so people will vote for me. So under Cal Matters magazine, look up your Golden State stimulus amount. Yeah, that's the title. August 4th. Look up your Golden State stimulus amount. Now, you don't have this check yet, but you can look it up online about how much the check's going to be when it's finally cut. And it's going to be cut just right before the recall election. California is expanding its Golden State stimulus program for low-income households to middle-class families under a new budget that Governor Gavin Newsom signed Monday night. State lawmakers agreed to spend $8.1 billion to help out millions of working families. That comes out on top of, and in addition to, the $3.8 billion sent out earlier this year to low-income families, including undocumented workers, bringing the total package to $11.9 billion, unprecedented for any state, the most of any state. What does that mean for you? Generally, households earning up to $75,000 in adjusted gross income will qualify for some state stimulus. So you can make up to $75,000. You're still going to get a stimulus check. You're going to get it right before the recall election. The governor says it should cover 78% of California taxpayers and will benefit 2 out of 3 Californians. 78% of California taxpayers are going to be paid off with a stimulus check right before Gavin Newsom's recall election. You wonder why Democrats stay in charge in California? This is how. This is how they stay in charge at the federal level too. It's how they stay in charge in the states that are blue. You just keep paying off people, and they look at that check and they're like, oh my gosh, Gavin Newsom signed my check. And oh, he just happens to be up for a recall election. I'm going to go vote for him because I got my little $300. Families with at least one child or other dependent will get an extra boost, of course, because, you know, going to pay you extra if you got kids. And undocumented workers will get an assist too, since they were excluded from recent federal stimulus packages. That's right. You got to pay the people that were here illegally, you know, because come on, you know, they're going to vote too. The administration has clarified that only Californians with earned income from work in 2020 can qualify for the Golden State stimulus payments, leaving out elderly and disabled people who only receive income from programs like Social Security benefits, private pensions, or veterans benefits. This has sparked some confusion and frustration among that population, especially people receiving disability benefits through Social Security who are excluded from the payments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the thing. If you live in California, in less than 2 weeks' time, there's going to be a recall election, and you're going to be getting a check from good old Gavin Newsom just in time before the recall election. And this could very well put him over the top. It could very well put him over the top as the winner in the recall election. I could see enough people saying, I'm not going to recall him because this is the guy that keeps paying me to do nothing. So I'm going to, hey, why not? You know, I mean, and I want to be fair here. It says you had to file taxes in 2020. So you were working through 2020 to file tax returns. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you had to be working in 2020. You just had to file tax returns in 2020. And then you get the stimulus check. And this is the problem in America right now, because this is not the purpose of government. Yet Democrats have figured this out. They figured out that you can pay people with taxpayer money so that they show up at the polls and vote you in and will never vote you out. No matter how bad you are, as long as you keep giving them free stuff, they will keep voting you in. And this is a fundamental flaw, I think, in our system. And at a minimum, at a minimum, it should be prohibited prior to elections. So during an election year, and certainly during a recall, governors should be prohibited from passing legislation that hands out free money to people. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be permitted. Because these individuals in California, 78% of them are going to get a check. They're going to get a check right before the recall election.